I'm going to get started now because I think time is short. We'd like to have a bit of a whistle-stop tour of the COMF funding and share with you some hints and tips, and also allow our partners to talk to you as well. So today we have got John Hayes from OCVA, and we have got Fiona from Good Food Oxfordshire, and we have got, I haven't seen Community First Oxfordshire. Are you here?
I'm
no.
here.
Oh, good. Oh, good. Lovely. Emily, I hadn't seen you, so great that you're there. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm going to start off with a very short introduction and talk for a moment or two about eligibility criteria. Please jump in with your questions, or if not, there will be time at the end. So very briefly, COMF is short for Contain Outbreak Management Fund, and these have come to us from the County Council. They want to implement measures to support containment and intervention to reduce COVID-19 outbreaks and the spread of infection. This is in the form of emotional and practical support, to support people with self-isolation. Even though this is not a legal requirement any longer, there are some people who still feel very vulnerable, who feel it's necessary that they are not going out and about much, and feel that quite uncomfortable with being in public places. So it's trying to support those people and to deliver vital services to support communities to recover, renew, provide sustainability for voluntary and community organisations in this sort of post-pandemic period. I know it's a bit strange for everybody at the moment. We've all been shut away and not communicating face-to-face with people for quite a long time. So it's now an opportunity for everybody to get used to being out in the community again, but recognising that there are a number of people who perhaps are not so comfortable doing that, and this funding hopefully will support them becoming more comfortable with that. Excuse me. So we are talking about increasing the number of organisations who can receive funding, to support people, to minimise the impact on physical and mental well-being, support long-term sustainability of the voluntary community services across organisations, and to continue to renew and recover post-pandemic. The general eligibility criteria is our normal eligibility criteria, and I think many of the people who are on today's call are familiar with that. But just to run through it quickly, you need to be a registered charity, a constituted group or a social enterprise, or KIC. You need to be based in Oxfordshire and have the majority of your beneficiaries in Oxfordshire. You need to have at least 3 trustees or committee members who are not related to each other. Have a bank account in your organisation's name, and at least 2 signatories who are unrelated to each other. And the bank account ideally needs to be open for 3 months or more, and you're able to show transactions for it. It needs to be open to people of all religions and political affiliations, and must not proselytise. So going on from that, the organisations that are not eligible are national charities, public bodies or statutory organisations, charities where the beneficiaries are solely animals, individuals, projects that are the purchase of buses or other vehicles. I know we have had some people inquiring about community transport projects, and those are eligible. So not the purchase of the vehicles, but the actual day-to-day running of the transport is. Large-scale construction projects. This includes fixed structures, for example, in playgrounds. That is not eligible. And going back to the public bodies or statutory organisations, that does include schools, but we would fund organisations such as PTAs or friends of organisations associated with schools. And unfortunately, we can't fund things retrospectively. So where costs have already been incurred, we cannot fund those. I'm going to stop there and move on. If anybody has any questions, I'm very happy to answer those. I know that one of the requirements of this funding is that you have a conversation with either OCVA, Community First Oxfordshire or Good Food Oxfordshire, and I'm sure they will be happy to answer those sorts of questions as well.
Sorry, Annette.
Yes, Simon, hello.
You missed income level.
Oh, I do apologise, so sorry. Well done for spotting that. So, and I can't find that off the top of my head. Oh, so your income must be under £1 million, which is very important. So if you have any thoughts, any queries about whether you are eligible, we're very happy to answer those questions going forward. So I'm going to ask John Hayes now to give a brief overview of the sorts of projects that he is able to help you with. John, I've lost you from my screen. Perhaps you.
I am here, and in theory, I'm visible.
Yes, you are visible.
Right. So
I'm going to mute myself for a moment.
Okay. Net's asked us to keep it short and sweet because clearly we want as much time as possible for questions at the end. If you're not familiar with OCVA, we're a support organisation that supports groups with funding support, a volunteer centre, training events. We're a membership organisation, but we can offer advice to non-members. We're actually contracted to do that. Members, if your turnover is under £5,000, then membership of OCVA would be free. We run a number of networks, newsletters and things like that. So above and beyond COMF, if you do want, if you're interested in any of those other support services, by all means contact me. I believe my email's on the website as a COMF contact. As far as the COMF funding is concerned, we can support any of the projects and any applications, but I would like to emphasize that partnership and cooperation is a very strong element of the COMF funding. So if your project is a food project, then clearly Good Food Oxfordshire are the people to approach, because their networks will be more focused on that area, and you'll be able to build partnerships and work in, and they might be able to link you to partners if they're missing in your applications. The same would apply to Community First Oxfordshire and things like transport. So we're perfectly happy to support any applications, but think about which support agency you go to and which one might be the most appropriate. Don't be scared by that, because if it's, we're all going to be talking to each other, we'll be cross-referring. I'm guessing there'll be a certain amount of tag teaming if groups need support from one agency and might need to access support from another. So don't be frightened by that. But in general, if you look at the projects and you sort of look at the stuff that Good Food Oxfordshire, and it is Good Food Oxfordshire now, not Good Food Oxford, which is brilliant, then clearly any food projects will come under them, and Community First Oxfordshire is clearly going to be village halls, transport schemes, neighbourhood planning, and those sort of things. But don't be put off approaching someone if you think you've got it wrong. We'll be happy to talk through your application. We'll be happy to help you shape your application. And that's probably as much as I can really say. So I'll leave it there. And if anyone's got any questions, please feel free and ask them towards the end, I believe. I think we've set aside about 20 minutes for questions. Thank you, folks.
Thank you, John. Could I ask Emily Lewis-Edwards from Community First Oxfordshire to outline what you're able to do for organisations?
I can, although, Annette, John's sort of done it for Community First Oxfordshire and also Good Food Oxford. But yeah, I think the point is, no matter what your project idea is, or you just have some questions, just get in touch with one of us and we will be able to just triage it, or wherever it can sit. I mean, in general, Community First Oxfordshire works with OCVA in terms of community infrastructure. We used to be the Rural Community Council, we're still very much rural focused, but anything around sort of the community shops, halls, community spaces, community transport, good neighbours, anything like that, come to us. But as John said, you can come to any of the three.
Thank you, Emily. Fiona Steele, have you got anything that you'd like to add on the food side of things?
I think it's fairly obvious what we do, the clues in the name. So, and John's given a great intro. So yeah, aside from the application, I think it is that sense that hopefully we can connect you to other people, other networks, other partners, and hopefully that's sort of the value that we can add to your application, aside from just the application, but getting to know you better and connecting you into other forms of support. So yeah, please do get in touch. There's myself, and there's Rachel is also on the call here from Good Food Oxfordshire. So either of us are very happy to help. We've set up some meetings where you can book on. You can just book into the Calendly and book a slot if you want to do that. So yeah, we look forward to discussing further with many of you.
Thank you very much.
Can I just come in? Sorry. Fiona, do you have, I'm just thinking, I've had a couple of people that wanted to actually talk. Do you have a phone number, or is it email also? Email?
We've set up Calendly slots that will book a Zoom call. So,
okay, so it's
yeah. I think that's the way in which we've set it up. So people can just book it on directly, and there's just slots available that you can book.
Right.
Yeah, they might need to email me to get the link, Calendly link. Yeah.
Okay, so is Rachel's just the contact details are on the form, on the website and on the form, so it'll come to us.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much.
Annette, sorry, I've got another question, because I'm just thinking of the first round of COMF, and one of the things you probably wanted to emphasise was just how much the pot is, the funding pot is, so people have an idea of, how big or small it is.
Yes, so we have £300,000 to distribute, and we are distributing that in two ways. There is a small application form which is for grants of £500 to £1,500, and then there's a large grant application form which is £1,501 to £10,000. And there is a slight difference. I'm going to go through the application forms in a moment. There is a slight difference in the application forms. For the smaller one, it is a simplified, shorter application form, and there is more detail required for the larger one, as you would expect. I am going to pause now and ask if anybody's got any questions for any of the partner organisations or on the eligibility criteria before I move on to the actual forms. So if anybody has got a question, please unmute yourselves, and we will try and answer those questions now for you. Hello, Lucy.
Hi, I've just got a very quick question. If we received a grant from the COMF pot just gone, are we eligible to apply again for this round?
Yes.
Great. Thank you.
Okay.
Just a quick question. Also, when you say national charities, there's always a sort of, sometimes it's a movable line, isn't it? What we have, the Silver Lining Brain Injury Charity, we have one of our biggest hubs in Oxford and Oxfordshire for the people with brain injuries in the area. But we do have hubs and brain injury locations around the UK, about 5 other locations around the UK. Does that register us as a national charity officially or unofficially? And you know, is there a line under which we have to be or over which we have to be to qualify, as it were?
I think if you can ring fence funding for Oxfordshire,
it would absolutely be purely for our silver liners within Oxfordshire and for their benefit. Absolutely, so
yeah.
that would do.
I think that probably would be okay. But
Okay.
if you want to have a separate conversation, that will be fine. We can organise that to talk about that in more detail for you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And Karen Phillips has had her hand up for a while.
Yes, Karen.
Hi, is this just for work that happens in the county, or can the beneficiaries also be city-based people?
City of Oxford. Yes.
Yeah.
So it can be county-wide or anywhere in the county or in the city or any of the towns.
Yeah,
around.
okay, thank you.
No.
Catherine.
No, I would try Emmaus.
What? Sorry, Simon.
Simon, you're on.
Yeah, okay.
Catherine. Thanks. So we've
yes,
had
go ahead, Catherine. Sorry.
No worries. We've had COMF funding and related to Community First Oxfordshire on that grant. Is there any relationship in terms of how we got on with our previous funding that comes into bear in the decision, or a kind of is that a positive or negative or neither?
I don't think that there is any weighting at all.
Okay.
On that.
And our work's going to be in Oxford City and also in West Oxfordshire. We've had the closest link with Communities First Oxfordshire in the management. Would you suggest we kind of have a session with Emily or OCBA?
It probably would make sense, I think, to talk to Emily in the first instance.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Anybody else have a question at this point? Catherine, you still have your hand raised, actually. Thank you. That's lovely. Right, so if I go on to the application form, I'm going to excuse me, try and share my screen. As I said earlier, our internet is a little bit flaky this afternoon, so I'm hoping that it will work. If not, I'll be handing over to Simon, who's not in the office. Just bear with me one moment. Let me see if I can share my good. Where's it gone? I'm going to have to go over to Simon. Simon, do you have the application form open by any chance?
I can get one open. Hold on.
As mine isn't working. Having more than one screen open at the same time is challenging this afternoon. So I know some people have already filled in their application forms and others are in progress. So it is very much our basic application form with specific questions for the contain outbreak monitoring form requirements. So I know that Nicola, you won't be able to see this. So if you need any help, please do contact myself or Simon in the office and we'll talk you through it individually, because I know that that's a problem for you. Have you had any luck, Simon?
We can share where to get it on the website.
So, web journey, that's fine.
We can do this through.
Right, I'm there. Hold
Okay, someone's there.
on. Annette, I'm showing it in Form Builder because that's the only way I can show it, really. So it's
Okay.
so obviously it won't have all the drop downs, but you can explain those. Share screen. On.
There we go. Thank you. So the first section is all about your organisation. Those of you who filled in our application forms previously will be familiar with this. It asks you for details about your organisation and about the person who is applying. Simon, if you wouldn't mind scrolling down, thank you.
This is the small one, by the way, so you know.
Thank you. So we ask the sort of organisation that you are, what your when you were established, what your finances were, and we ask you for details of your bank account. Further into this, we will ask you to submit a bank statement, and we do require one that shows the name of your organisation, the bank account number, the bank sort code, and the names of the signatories. So if you are having problems sending us that, please let us know. But there is a button later on in the form where it says please put your supporting documents. And then this is more about your project, the work that you're going to do. So it asks you how much money you're going to ask for, and then details about the project. All the boxes that have got a red line beside them, they are compulsory, and your form will not submit if you have not put anything in there. We're also asking you to make a comment about whether your conversation with our partner organisation has been has that affected your application. So these are the drop-down boxes that Simon was referring to, and they are about the impact of your work, and they ask you about your primary issue, what the activities are, who your beneficiaries are, from point of view of age group, from ethnicity and gender. And then there are some monitoring outcomes, which will also have a drop-down box. Sorry, I cannot show those to you at the moment. Karen, you had a question, I think. Sorry, you're muted.
Sorry, am I supposed to be able to see anything? Because I can just see the other delegates on the call. I can't see.
Okay. Okay. Maybe we should stop sharing, Simon, and we'll see if we can do this another way.
Can anyone else see it? Yes.
Fiona, you can. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I can see it.
Good.
Sorry, I've gone to another screen and it's on another screen.
Don't worry, don't worry. Okay, so the outcomes and indicators are the next section. So we ask you that you must select at least one outcome and one indicator. Simon, you've got some.
Sorry, I was suddenly thinking, I was wondering whether I could open a sort of a live format and then you can see what the drop downs are and the fact that it opens up an indicator, but don't worry, I'll do it on the bigger one.
Okay, I think we're almost at the end of this one.
Yeah.
I know these are the terms and conditions, and then you click on submit. You can save this as you go along, and you can share it with colleagues if you need to. So if we now, sorry, Fiona, you still have your hand up, I apologise.
Yeah, just a question. If people don't have a bank account, can that be part of the support that we provide in that first round, and will there be an opportunity for them to apply in a later round? Because our experience of the first round of grants was that some people didn't have bank accounts.
Okay. Yes, and our eligibility is that they must have a bank account that's been working for 3 months. So I think during the period of the lockdowns in particular, we did lift that restriction, because obviously people were setting up new bank accounts and new organisations pretty much all the time during that period. If you've got anybody who hasn't got a bank account, maybe we should have a conversation offline, Fiona, and let's see where that takes us. Laura.
It was just going to be about bank accounts again, and just whether we'd accept things like people that were using like fiscal hosting schemes, or maybe who were partnered with like a fiscal hosting sponsor and things like that, but we might just have to talk about that separately.
Yeah, I'm very happy to have a chat about that separately, and look at maybe individual cases on a case-by-case situation.
So I just guess the message now is, if you don't have a bank account, don't let that be a stop now. Still carry on and book an appointment with us. Yes, and maybe we could have a call, Fiona and Laura, separately about what the implications of that might be. It's not something that I've come across recently, so we could have a conversation separately.
Yeah, we did have a couple in the last round, as I understand it, who were clearly groups, sort of mutual aid groups, very much at a grassroots level, doing some brilliant work, but hadn't really formalised and been in existence for a long time.
No.
So there was a lot of group support there about constituting and getting a bank account in place, and they were clearly delivering the work, but not necessarily, because they were relatively new and they'd reacted to the pandemic. They were sort of only just come into place. So there might be an element of that in there. Just all right.
Thank you. That's really helpful. So I'll move on to the large form.
So Annette, can I quickly think, because I noticed somebody put in a question about indicators and what they are.
Oh, okay.
So I've got a live application form here. If you see when you select the primary outcome, you pick whichever one you want, and then a number of indicators which are sort of how you would measure this. So I've picked mental health and well-being, number of people reporting improved mental health and well-being. And if you are to tick that, later on when you get a monitoring form, it'll ask you for a number of people reporting improved mental health and well-being. I would just say that I've kind of put it here, but don't feel that we want you to choose as many indicators and outcomes as possible. That doesn't help. It also gives me a headache because it's hard from a statistics point of view. Yeah, choose at least one, and then it shows that you are, measuring the impact of your project.
Lovely, thank you, Simon. I think, could we move on to the large grant application now?
I'm just going to open one of these. Sorry, don't look at everybody.
Perfect, thank you. So this is for the larger grant, and it does ask initially the same information about your organisation and the person who is applying, the size of your organisation, the sort of organisation that it is, and then goes on to your project itself. And much of this is the same as the small one. Asking for your bank account details. There's a slightly different section here about staffing and volunteers, and then information about your grant application. So this is almost exactly the same. Ask slightly more details and at least one extra question. And then it goes on to ask about your project budget and your outcomes and indicators. There you go, primary beneficiaries, primary issue, primary activity, and your age group, and your ethnicity and gender, religion and nationality. Project budget, this is slightly different to the small one, which doesn't ask for this, but we're asking for information about the cost of your project, and then staff costs, volunteer costs. If you don't have staff costs, for example, putting zeros in the boxes is perfectly acceptable. And then you get to the supporting documents again, and we are asking you to provide a referee. So we would like to know the name and address of the person and their email address, and we will contact them. If we don't get a response from your referee, we will not be able to progress your application. I would suggest that you find somebody, ask somebody who is well aware of your organisation, the type of work that you do, and maybe specifically this project, so that they can give us a little bit more background about the organisation and be able to support the work that you're going to do. Simon's highlighted the Save as Draft button, so you can save it as you go, and you can attach your attachments. You can even print it, and please don't forget to submit it before the closing date. If you've got any problems or questions, we're here. We're happy to respond to emails. We will also respond to phone calls as well, but I'm sure you can appreciate that there is only the two of us, and it gets a bit hectic towards the end of the grants period. But we are happy to answer questions specifically about the application form. And obviously you've got the contacts at the partner organisations who can help you with identifying your particular project. I'm going to stop sharing now and open the floor to questions.
I just add one thing about that. On the budget bit, this is most commonly when people hit submit and it doesn't, and it says it can't submit. Most commonly it's due to the fact that either the budget doesn't add up, or that you've pushed a thing like a pound sign or a comma, and it doesn't like that. So yeah.
Thank you. Okay, does anybody have any more questions? I'm very happy to answer those. Are there any in the chat, Claire?
I can't see anyone at the moment.
Okay, thank you.
Oh,
Barry.
Yes.
Hi, yeah, just if we did put an application in, say for, I don't know, just £8,000, is there it obviously gets accepted or rejected, but is there a mechanism where maybe you don't give us £8,000, but you might give us £3,000, or is it a matter of whatever you applied for is either a yes or a no?
I think there's a possibility that we would do part funding, yes. It will very much depend, I think, on how many applications we get. As you can imagine, you know, we've got quite a lot of people. We've got 37 people on this call today. There is a lot of interest in it.
Okay.
So until we actually close the grants round, we won't know. But yes, potentially.
Potentially. Okay, thank you very much.
Does the small form need a referee?
No.
Lovely.
It doesn't. Thank you. Anybody else? Well, thank you all for coming this afternoon. I hope you found it helpful, and thank you to our partner organisations as well for being present on the call. I hope that we have lots of interest. Oh, sorry, Rita, hello.
It's just a quick
question.
Just a quick one. Why is it called the Contain Outbreak Management? I'm just curious about the name chosen.
This has been part of the pandemic. There was Contain Outbreak Management Fund grants last year as well, and I think it comes from government. It is government funding that is passed through to the council. So unfortunately, I don't have any say over the name, and I don't believe that the council does either.
No, I was just curious.
As we all know, there are, that life is returning pretty much to normal at the moment. So it is not necessarily about the outbreak management. It is all about the support around maybe vaccination, maybe people who are still feeling vulnerable, those sorts of things. Thank you, Rita. So thank you, everybody. We're obviously here and very happy to answer any questions going forward, as well as our partner organisations.
Annette, there's another question.
Oh, from...
Have you still got your hand up?
I can't see anybody with the hand up.
Me. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah. Oh, hello.
Yes. So my question is, you were speaking of 2 pots. Am I correct? A small
yes,
and a bigger one. Could you give us practical examples of what the distinction could be? Like what would you apply for certain things?
So
it's not entirely clear for me yet.
Okay, so if you had a much larger project where you needed a larger sum of money, you would apply for the larger one. But if you had a small project, maybe that only needed £600-700 in order to do it, you would use the small grant application form. Does that help you? Good, thank you. Thank you. Karen, hello.
Sorry, can you apply for both pots of funding?
No, you can't.
Okay.
Sorry. Any other questions?
So to come back to my question.
Yes.
So the best way to go on about it is just to figure out how much your project will need to cost, and then take it from there.
Yes.
And did you say the numbers of?
Yes. So the small grant application form is for amounts between £500 and £1,500, and the large one is between £1,501 and £10,000. And you're probably a conversation with one of the partner organisations will help you identify which one you should apply for. Good, thank you. Okay, I'm going to close down this today. Thank you all very much for coming. Oh, yes.
I just wondered whether it was worth mentioning the Community Integration Fund.
Yes, we do. We do have a community integration fund open currently as well, which is slightly different. But you can apply for COMF, or you can apply for community integration at the same time, and that's much more about partnerships. And it is only up to £5,000, so it is a smaller grants pot. And there's information on our website about all of them.
I think, can we just clarify that would be a different project to the...
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, so if there'd have to be distinct projects. And
yes,
I was thinking about the budgeting and the small grants and the large grants. From the guidance, it looks like the budgeting on the larger grants, it's very, very detailed. So be careful about your budgeting on the applications, and that little that bit between a small grant and a big grant. If you are stepping over, the budget has to make sense. That would be the point I'd like to make around that. So deciding whether you want to make a small application or a bigger application, make sure you've got your budgets right and apply to the right one, because there's clearly a lot of attention spent on the budget itself.
Yes, and one of the things that we always look at, and surprising number of people fall down on, is make sure your budget adds up. And there are some tips in our 10 top tips on our website as well for your grant application. So it's worth having a quick look at that as well. So I will say goodbye now. Thank you all so much for coming. Please do feel free to contact the partner organisations, and please do contact either Simon or myself or any of the team at Oxfordshire Community Foundation if you've got any other queries, and we'll do our best to help you. And I look forward to receiving your applications in due course.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.